The bundle of rights is a way of visualizing the complex set of rights held and exercised by a party that has some measurement of control over a piece of real property. The type of estate in land that an owner controls affects how big that bundle of rights is. The following are the rights usually found in this bundle: the right to possess a property or possession, the right to use the property in a legal manner or enjoyment, the right to control the use of a property or control, the right to exclude other people from using a property or exclusion, and the right to dispose of the property through sale, rental, or transfer, disposal. A title is the legal basis for the ownership of a piece of property, and it usually specifies the rights the owner can exercise. When a title is transferred to someone else, the bundle of rights associated with a property is transferred as well. The possessor or controller of a property may have a smaller or larger bundle of rights depending on how possession or control was established. Someone who buys a house has a larger bundle of rights because there are fewer restrictions on what they can do with the property. Someone who rents a property from another person has a significantly smaller bundle of rights. A tenant could be seen as being granted a few rights out of the bundle, which is held by the landlord. When the rental agreement is terminated, the borrowed rights are returned to the landlord. We often think of land as the surface of the earth, but in the context of real property, land starts in the center of the earth, goes up to the surface, and continues out into space. This is important because one person can own the rights to use the property's surface, known as surface rights. Then another may own the rights to drill or dig below the surface, the subsurface rights. And a third person may own rights to use the airspace above the property. Yep, the air rights. Rights can be removed from the bundle by an encumbrance. An encumbrance is usually some form of legal obligation that decreases the value of a property and can interfere with the transfer of a title. They may be from issues like outstanding debts or from property line disputes. Encumbrances usually have to be resolved before ownership of a property can be transferred to someone else. They're a form of non-possessory interest. A non-possessory interest in a piece of property is a right to use or restrict the use of another person's land. In other words, the holder of the interest has rights and privileges related to property, but doesn't actually possess the property. The two primary forms of encumbrances are liens and easements. A lien is a legal claim made on a property for the purpose of securing or repaying a debt to the holder of the lien. Liens can be imposed by financial institutions for repayment of loans. Alternatively, a lien can be imposed by the government for failure to pay property taxes. Liens usually carry with them the right of the holder of the lien to repossess and sell the property in order to pay off the debt. In some states, a mortgage is seen as a form of lien. This is because failure to repay the mortgage often gives the creditor the right to foreclose on the property in an attempt to make up the unpaid debt. An easement is the right of one party to use the property of another party. A fee can be paid to the property owner in return for the right of the easement. An easement, therefore, doesn't dispossess the landowner. Instead, it creates a coexistence between the landowner and the holder of the easement. Easements are commonly used to allow a property owner to access a public service on the other side of a neighboring property. A private example of an easement would be a roadway that allows a property owner access to a public street. A public example of an easement would be an allowance for a public utility to run power lines and sewer lines across private land. It's important to consider how an easement may affect the value of a property.